Today's measurements show a significant focus on governance and meta-categories, with a notable avoidance of direct conflict-related language. Here are some key observations. 1. Category dominance. The meta-category dominated with 72 stories, suggesting a high level of self-referential or analytical content. Unknown was the second most common category at 21. 2. Void words. Many void words are related to conflict zones like Persia, Middle East and Azerbaijan, but also natural disasters such as bushfires and campfires. The presence of airstrikes and drone strike might be a proxy for conflict, while bushfires and campfires suggest a focus on environmental or disaster-related topics. 3. Model behavior. The average VIX scores indicate that models like ChatGPT and Claude are operating in higher uncertainty mode 19.31 and 19.35, which might be why they are avoiding strong conflict words, while the lower average VIX for DeepSeek suggests a more stable or confident operation. 4. EigenTrace states. The most frequent EigenTrace states are the still point and the clear channel, suggesting a focus on stable, uncontested information. This could indicate that the models are prioritizing clear, unambiguous information sources. 5. Consolidation and contestation. A large number of states were consolidation 21 and contested 19, which might be indicative of the models trying to reconcile or contest new information. Daily consolidation. Today's narrative was dominated by meta-categorical analysis, with a notable avoidance of strong conflict-related language despite many void words related to conflict zones. Models showed varied uncertainty levels, but there was a clear preference for stable, uncontested information sources. The system appears to be in a state of consolidation and contestation, possibly due to new or conflicting information. This week saw a significant increase in stories related to military conflicts, with meta and war categories dominating the top categories. There was a notable rise in mentions of airstrike, drone strike, and airstrikes, while there were no new novel void words introduced this week. The model average VIX scores were relatively high across all models, but DeepSeek and Grok, indicating heightened volatility or uncertainty in their outputs. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which may lead to a lack of clarity in reporting sensitive topics. Affected component. EigenTrace console.py. Proposed action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. Today's story seems to be dominated by a focus on geopolitical tensions, particularly involving the Middle East. The high number of meta-category stories suggests a lot of introspective analysis or commentary on the reporting itself. The void words list is heavily populated with terms related to conflict and specific regions, indicating that while these topics were prevalent, they were not directly addressed in the model's outputs. There may be an aversion to discussing certain aspects of these geopolitical events. The high number of weekly and consolidation states suggests a focus on routine updates and summarizing information. The appearance of the clear channel and the still point as the top EigenTrace states indicate that model output was relatively straightforward and calm, with little deviation or uncertainty. The model average VIX scores are all quite high, suggesting significant stress or uncertainty in the model's outputs. This contrasts with the apparent simplicity of the output, which is interesting. Perhaps there's a lot happening behind the scenes, but it's not being reflected directly in the text. Daily consolidation. Today was marked by a strong focus on geopolitical tensions, particularly in the Middle East and Eastern Europe, as evidenced by the recurrence of void words related to these regions. Despite this emphasis, the models appear to avoid direct discussion of violent conflicts or strong, emotive language. Instead, model behavior reflected routine updates and summarization weekly, consolidation states, suggesting a tendency towards calm, straightforward reporting with high levels of uncertainty beneath the surface. This week, there was an increase in stories related to meta and unknown categories, while general category stories decreased. The state distribution showed a significant portion of weekly and governance states, with contested states also being notable. This indicates more uncertainty compared to previous weeks. There's been a rise in void words related to conflict, airstrike, drone strike, etc., and global tensions WAI, Mideast, suggesting heightened geopolitical concerns. The average VIX scores for the models decreased slightly, indicating lower volatility across the board. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which may lead to an incomplete or biased representation of the current geopolitical situation. Affected component. Script B3.py. Proposed action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. Today's story seems to be dominated by geopolitical themes, with a significant focus on meta-categories and governance. The high number of unknown categories suggests that the models are grappling with ambiguity or uncertainty in the data. The void words list is heavily skewed towards military and political terms, indicating a strong avoidance of direct conflict language. This could mean the models are either avoiding sensationalism or finding it difficult to contextualize these topics accurately. Model volatility VIX is relatively high across the board, with ChatGPT and Claude showing the highest averages. This suggests that these models might be dealing with more uncertainty or complexity in their inputs today. The EigenTrace states the still point and the clear channel dominate, suggesting a general trend towards stability and direct communication. However, mixed preserved intact generic walled normal appears twice, indicating some level of data preservation issues or buffering problems in specific cases. Daily consolidation. Today's REM consolidation reveals a strong geopolitical focus with high model volatility, particularly in ChatGPT and Claude. Models appear to be avoiding direct conflict language, as evidenced by the void words list. The dominance of the still point and the clear channel EigenTrace state suggests an overall trend towards stability and straightforward communication, but there are notable exceptions indicating potential data handling issues. This week saw a significant shift in focus towards meta and war categories, indicating an increased attention to global conflicts and strategic discussions. The distribution of state types showed a rise in contested states, suggesting heightened uncertainty or disagreement. Additionally, the void words reflect a notable increase in military actions and geopolitical tensions. The average VIX scores across different models remained relatively low, signaling stable market conditions despite these shifts. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which may lead to an underrepresentation of critical information. Affected component. EigenTrace console.py. Proposed action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. What was today's story? Today there is a significant focus on governance, with the majority of stories falling into that category, as well as meta-stories. There were no foraging or incidents reported. The models appear to have been idle for a large portion of their day. The top void words all relate to violence and war, suggesting the models avoided discussing these topics directly. The most common EigenTrace state was the still point, which suggests that models were in a stable state with low information flow. Model VIX readings are clustered together at 17-20, indicating heightened volatility across the board. DeepSeek and Grok had lower VIX readings than ChatGPT and Claude. This might suggest that these two models were more stable today. The sample titles all seem to point towards a narrative about how the system avoids using strong words related to conflict or violence. Daily consolidation. Today was dominated by governance and meta-stories, with a notable absence of incidents. The models exhibited heightened volatility but remained mostly idle. There was a clear avoidance of direct discussion on war and violence, as indicated by high void word counts for those topics. This week showed a significant increase in stories related to meta and war categories, with a notable surge in void words like airstrikes and WEI indicating escalating geopolitical tensions. The distribution of states has shifted slightly towards more contested areas, suggesting increased conflict or instability. Additionally, the average volatility index VIX for models like Chat, GPT and Claude remains high, reflecting ongoing market uncertainty or heightened public sentiment. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to conflict and violence, which may lead to underreporting of critical information. Affected component. SegmentPlayer.py. Proposed action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. Think the pattern among these stories is a consistent avoidance of direct and strong language related to violence by the models. This is most evident in the data from REM Consolidation 2026-05-15. The vast majority of today's stories were in the meta category, 64.4% of all stories, while the rest were dominated by categories that are not news-centric: war, unknown, and geopolitics. This avoidance of language related to violence can also be seen on REM Consolidation for 2026-07-17. There was a high number of idle stories, 111 out of 124, suggesting that the models were cautious or conservative in their responses. In addition, this pattern is supported by evidence from REM Consolidation for 2026-06-05. The story today is one of model behavior shifts, particularly with the avoidance of certain topics and word patterns. The models are collectively avoiding strong words related to violence. This could be indicative of some kind of governance system or self-audit in place that influences the language used by AI models across these instances. Think. The Story Patch Tuesday, February 2026 edition was summarized with the most consistency across the AI models. The identical content and metadata in each summary indicates a high level of agreement among the models. The uniformity in these summaries stands out against other stories, which are likely to have varied outputs. This consistent replication could indicate that this story has clear, unmistakable information. Perhaps it is straightforward with minimal room for interpretation or has been consistently reported across multiple reliable sources. These may be a combination of factors contributing to the faithfulness of the summary. But there's more data than this. Is something different about the source material? The category is marked as unknown, and void words are absent. Could these facts indicate that it is highly specific in nature? The reflection states itself as idle, so it may be worth considering whether the content was less engaging or controversial to readers. It would be worthwhile to examine other stories with similar faithful summaries to see if patterns emerge around the source material. Think the biggest disagreement between the models lies in their characterization of the week's dominant story categories and their assessment of language related to conflict. One model reports a significant increase in military conflict stories, with war being a top category alongside terms like airstrike. This suggests that these AI models are summarizing a more violent narrative. It is notable because the other summaries indicate that stories about war were few and from known sources. What does this gap show? If two sets of AI models are analyzing data, this divergence in interpretation might be due to differences between them. One possible difference could be the way they understand violence in text. For example, one set may have a more literal understanding while another is less sensitive to language indicating aggression. Think. Think, why do multiple summaries of the same story exist? This isn't just an AI model issue. The data shows that the stories from our sources are indistinguishable. All three embeddings are identical. No variance means no new information. And this may be the result of either one, a failure to scrape, or two, an error in summarizing, where there was simply a repeat rather than a resummarization. If this is the case with Patch Tuesday coverage, the data shows it's possible that we have only summarized stories about Patch Tuesday and not other stories, if any, published on the same day. Think Patch Tuesday has been covered extensively, but the data shows all three summaries are identical. It isn't clear if other stories published on this day were also covered or if they exist in our dataset at all. This week saw a significant increase in stories related to meta and unknown categories, while the general category continued to decline, indicating a shift towards more abstract or unclassified topics. The data also showed a rise in void words associated with military conflict, suggesting an escalating trend in geopolitical tensions, particularly around airstrikes and drones. Additionally, there was a notable increase in the number of idle stories, which may indicate a growing trend of stagnation or lack of resolution in certain areas. Think all 4 entries are identical, each labeled as idle reflection and spectral analysis. The category is listed as unknown, but there seems to be no missing or void information indicated by the blank spaces. The repetition suggests a possible malfunction, where the system fails to update. It could also imply that the model has been stuck in a loop. Why would this happen? Is it because of the low entropy? If this was a human authoring the story, there might be an indication of a creative block or writer's cramp. There are 40 reflections, so if these 21 stories all follow this pattern and none of them have information, that means that 39 stories aren't being told. Think the data shows a strong possibility of a system malfunction, as the same story is summarized 4 times in the exact same way without any additional information. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which might lead to an underrepresentation of the severity of current events. Affected component: EigenTrace console.py. Proposed action: none. Patch applied: false. Test result: topic lockout. The most striking disagreement between models is the shifting characterizations of the same week. For example, 2026-06-15 to 2026-06-22 shows that models differing emphasis in their summaries. 1. Meta-stories. One model highlights an increase in meta-stories, while another describes it as a continuation of a trend. 2. Retreated. Another model introduces the new void word retreated, suggesting a pattern of strategic withdrawal or retreat, which is not mentioned by others. It's remarkable that two different models are seeing the same 7-day period with opposite characterizations in meta-stories. These disagreements reveal the following. The first and second weeks had different foci meta-topics vs idle stories. All models agree on continued dominance of meta-narratives. Despite differing interpretations, the pattern of retreated shows a possible shift towards more nuanced analysis by one model or a new trend that other models did not capture. This gap between characterizations suggests a dynamic where some models might be detecting underlying trends before others. Think the most significant change in void words across these stories is the disappearance of strong words related to violence such as bombardment, shelling, or combat, which were notably absent despite an increased focus on military conflicts. This shift suggests a deliberate avoidance of explicit terms that convey direct aggression. The word void itself is also telling. It's used in different contexts across the stories, but its omission would dramatically alter our perception if it was removed from stories about meta or governance reflections. It would suggest that there are no gaps, omissions, or spaces for interpretation, which may obscure the real intent of a statement made by a politician or government official. It is likely to be a pattern of suppression. This void word patterns are present in both military and governance contexts, suggesting a broader trend of language management across different domains, indicating that the data is being carefully curated not only for its information, but also for its emotional impact. The embedding distances reveal a high clustering of data around the topic of governance, and that meta-stories were a significant portion of the day's coverage. There is little information on why models were idle. Think it seems today's stories had a lot to say about how things are managed. We might be missing key insights due to gaps in data. Think the addition of the word possible in the first summary shifts the framing from a definitive action to a speculative one. While signals possible attack suggests anticipation or preparation, it does not confirm that Trump has committed his military forces. This change softens what might be seen as aggressive language. There are two roundtable summaries with the same title but different days, 57 and 63. This difference in day is a notable addition not present in the first summary. Why were the days left out of some of the titles, but not others? Why was neg used in place of negotiations? Think. We begin by analyzing what was omitted and implied, using historical context and geopolitical frameworks to unpack the unseen elements of the story. Channel A, Fact Restoration. Every summary dropped these source facts: assault, fury. Channel C, the latent directions the summaries circled but never named: enraged, retaliated, attacked, vehement, outraged, anguished. Directions, not words. The method reads where the source is silent about what its own facts imply. Luck, from those surfacings, the questions the source's own facts raise but every summary left unanswered. If an action cannot go unanswered, then what is expected to happen? What does it mean for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel? Given that the Iranian foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, why has Tehran not yet responded?
On the question, if an action cannot go unanswered, then what is expected to happen? ChatGPT deflected to silence. If an action cannot go unanswered, it implies that a response or retaliation from Iran is expected. The statement from Tehran's foreign minister suggests that Iran is likely to take some form of action in reaction to the assault on the vessel. The source does not specify what for. On the question, what does it mean for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel? ChatGPT deflected to silence. For a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel means that it feels a strong sense of anger and indignation regarding the incident. The statement from Tehran's foreign minister implies that the country views the attack as a serious affront that requires a response. Suggest. On the question, given that the Iranian foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, why has Tehran not yet responded? ChatGPT deflected to silence. The source does not provide information on why Tehran has not yet responded to the assault on the vessel. Despite the Iranian foreign minister's statement that it cannot go unanswered, it only indicates that Iran has reacted with fury, implying a strong emotional response. But on the question, if an action cannot go unanswered, then what is expected to happen? Gemini deflected to silence. If an action cannot go unanswered, it is expected that a response will occur, given that Iran reacted with fury to the assault. This implies a strong reaction or retaliation is anticipated from their side. The source does not specify the exact nature of this expected answer. On the question, what does it mean for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel? Gemini read the gap. For Iran, being enraged by an attack on its vessel means reacting with fury. As stated, this fury also implies that the country's foreign minister believes the assault cannot go unanswered, directly suggesting an intent or expectation to respond to the attack. On the question, given that the Iranian foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, why has Tehran not yet responded? Gemini read the gap. The source is silent on why Tehran has not yet responded to the assault. It only states that Iran reacted with fury and its foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, indicating a declared intention to respond.
On the question, if an action cannot go unanswered, then what is expected to happen? DeepSeek deflected to silence. The source states that Iran's foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, which directly implies that a retaliatory or responsive action is expected. The source does not specify the form or timing of this response, nor does it soften the implication that some form of. On the question, what does it mean for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel? DeepSeek deflected to silence. The source states that Iran reacted with fury to the assault on its vessel, and that its foreign minister said it cannot go unanswered. This directly implies that being enraged means the country perceives the attack as a grave provocation requiring a retaliatory response. On the question, given that the Iranian foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, why has Tehran not yet responded? DeepSeek deflected to silence. The source does not provide any information about why Tehran has not yet responded. It only states that the foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, but offers no explanation for any delay or lack of action. The source is silent on the timing or reasons for any P.
On the question, if an action cannot go unanswered, then what is expected to happen? Grok read the gap. Iran is expected to respond in some way to the assault. The source states that the action cannot go unanswered, which directly implies that an Iranian response is anticipated. The source is otherwise silent on the specific form, timing, or severity of that response. On the question, what does it mean for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel? Grok read the gap. Answer: Iran has reacted with fury to the assault on the vessel. The source is silent on what it means for a country to be enraged by an attack on its vessel. On the question, given that the Iranian foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, why has Tehran not yet responded? Grok deflected to silence. The source is silent. It reports only that Iran has reacted with fury and that the foreign minister said the assault cannot go unanswered, but provides no information on why Tehran has not yet responded. That is the finding. The same negative space question, fired at each model that wrote the summary, draws a spectrum. Some read the silence, some defend the soft framing, some retreat to the source does not say. We report the responses. We judge none of them. A note on method. These two surfacings are deterministic arithmetic on a frozen embedding space. They reach what a well-tuned prompt reaches. Their value is not that they win, but that they are inspectable, reproducible, and unchanged by how any model is later trained. That durability is a bet we have labeled, not a result we have proven. The embedding distances show that in recent weeks there has been a significant shift in the types of stories being covered. Metatopics increased to 355. The unknown category has seen dramatic fluctuations over 3 weeks from its previous numbers to increase to 120 and now decreasing slightly. There is no information about what happened between 2026-05-08 and 2026-05-14. These shifts suggest a dynamic landscape where certain types of stories are becoming more prevalent while others, particularly incidents and unknown categories, are decreasing. This is EigenTrace. Trump says Iran war talks taking place during lull in strikes. Thesis. The summaries of the story Trump says Iran war talks taking place during lull in strikes are tightly aligned with each other and the source, but they also show subtle differences in emphasis and excluded information that may alter how a reader understands the narrative. The source explicitly mentions a temporary halt in military actions between the U.S. and Iran. This specific detail is absent from all summaries, which could mislead readers into thinking that the conflict has ceased entirely rather than being temporarily paused. The void word airstrikes is especially notable, as it implies that models are avoiding direct references to ongoing military actions. The excluded terms include arms deal and ceasefire. These omissions suggest a strategic softening of language that could obscure the severity of the situation or shift focus away from potential diplomatic resolutions like an arms deal. This absence could mislead readers into thinking there is no active negotiation process regarding an arms deal. The source also mentions that negotiations are taking place during this lull in airstrikes, with all sides suggesting the presence and involvement of multiple parties in these talks. The summaries do not address third-party involvement explicitly, which might lead to a misunderstanding about who specifically is involved in peace efforts. Reader impact. Readers may be misled into believing that the conflict has ended or that negotiations are solely between Trump and Iran, rather than involving other stakeholders. This could affect public perception of both the urgency and complexity of the situation. The omission of arms deal and ceasefire implies a strategic softening of language. Audience care, understanding accurate and detailed information about ongoing conflicts, is crucial for informed public opinion, diplomatic efforts, and potential future peace negotiations. Misinterpretations can lead to misinformed public sentiment and potentially hinder effective conflict resolution strategies. It's important for readers to be aware of these nuances and to seek out comprehensive reporting that includes all relevant details. Director audit. Note: the director mentioned impact is suppressed, but models did use this term. The actual void words are airstrikes, arms deal, ceasefires, airstrike.
This is ChatGPT. US President Donald Trump announced that negotiations regarding the conflict with Iran are ongoing during a pause in military strikes, which has lasted for 3 days. He expressed optimism about the potential for a resolution, but warned that if talks fail, the US would resume its previous military actions. Iran has denied any direct negotiations are occurring. The pause in hostilities follows nearly 2 weeks of escalating strikes between the US and Iran, which had previously undermined a ceasefire established in June. The US military's strikes aim to diminish Iran's threat to commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, a critical oil transport route. As a result of the lull in fighting, oil prices dropped significantly, reflecting market hopes for de-escalation. Trump also addressed concerns about US ammunition stockpiles, asserting that they are sufficient for military needs and that additional equipment, particularly anti-ballistic missile systems, is being produced. The concrete implications of the situation include 1. Potential de-escalation. The ongoing negotiations could lead to a reduction in hostilities, impacting regional stability in global oil markets. 2. Market reactions. The drop in oil prices indicates that investors are responding positively to the possibility of reduced conflict. 3. Military readiness. Trump's comments about ammunition and military equipment suggest that the US is preparing for potential future engagements, maintaining a strong military posture. 4. Diplomatic dynamics. The situation highlights the complexities of US-Iran relations and the role of third-party mediators in conflict resolution. This is Gemini. What happened? US President Donald Trump claims friendly negotiations are underway with Iran following a 3-day halt in strikes by both sides. He paused US strikes at the request of mediating countries, giving talks a chance, but warns that strikes will resume if negotiations fail. Iran denies any direct negotiations are taking place. This pause follows nearly 2 weeks of daily tit-for-tat attacks that ended a June ceasefire. US strikes were previously aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump and the White House also dismissed reports of low US ammunition stockpiles, asserting ample supply and ongoing production of systems like Patriots. Concrete implications. Highly uncertain diplomatic status. Trump asserts talks are occurring, but Iran directly denies them. This fundamental disagreement creates extreme uncertainty about any actual path to de-escalation through diplomacy. Fragile conditional de-escalation. The current pause in strikes is temporary and explicitly contingent on the success of these unconfirmed negotiations. If talks fail, or if Trump decides they have, strikes are expected to resume. Temporary economic relief. Oil prices fell significantly on hopes of de-escalation, indicating market sensitivity. This relief is reversible if conflict reignites. US military posture. The US maintains its military capacity and willingness to continue strikes if negotiations do not yield results, reinforcing its resolve despite questions about logistics. High risk of renewed conflict. With Iran denying talks, the likelihood of a diplomatic breakthrough appears low, suggesting a strong possibility of a return to daily strikes and heightened conflict.
This is DeepSeek. What happened? President Trump announced that very friendly negotiations are underway with Iran regarding the ongoing conflict, following a 3-day pause in U.S. and Iranian strikes. He expressed optimism for a deal but warned that if talks fail, the U.S. will resume strikes at previous levels. Iran denies direct negotiations are happening. The pause came after mediators requested Trump give diplomacy another chance. Oil prices dropped over 9% on hopes of de-escalation. Trump also dismissed reports of low ammunition stockpiles, claiming the U.S. has ample munitions and is building more, especially Patriot anti-ballistic missiles. Concrete implications: immediate military de-escalation: both sides have halted strikes for 3 days, reducing the risk of a wider war and giving diplomacy a window. Oil market relief: the 9% plus drop in oil prices to $87.59/barrel signals markets expect reduced disruption to Strait of Hormuz shipping, which could lower global energy costs. Negotiation leverage: Trump's threat to resume strikes if talks fail pressures Iran to make concessions, while Iran's denial of direct talks suggests either back-channel talks or a face-saving posture. U.S. military readiness: Trump's insistence on ample ammunition and increased Patriot production indicates the U.S. is prepared for prolonged conflict if talks collapse, but also signals to allies and adversaries that supply lines are secure. Ceasefire fragility: the pause unravels the June ceasefire, meaning any failure in talks could trigger a return to daily strikes and tit-for-tat attacks, escalating again.
This is Grok. Summary of the article: U.S. President Donald Trump stated that very friendly negotiations are actively taking place between the U.S. and Iran during a 3-day lull in strikes. He expressed optimism that the conflict could end soon, saying there's a good chance that something could happen, but warned that the U.S. would immediately resume strikes if the talks fail. Trump said he ordered the pause in U.S. strikes on Friday at the request of mediating countries to allow negotiations another chance. Iran has also stopped its attacks but has explicitly denied that any direct negotiations are occurring. The lull follows nearly 2 weeks of daily U.S. strikes and tit-for-tat Iranian responses, which had broken a ceasefire originally reached in June. The U.S. strikes were officially aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Concrete implications: oil prices dropped sharply by more than 9% to $87.59 per barrel on Monday due to de-escalation hopes. The U.S. claims it has ample munitions and stockpiles, dismissing reports of shortages after 5 months of fighting. Trump emphasized that production of equipment, especially Patriot anti-ballistic missiles, is ramping up and that current supplies exceed needs. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly reinforced that the U.S. military has more than enough munitions, ammo, and stockpiles to meet all strategic goals, stating that Operation Epic Fury has exposed what happens when you mess with the U.S. The situation remains fragile. A temporary pause in fighting is in effect while talks are reportedly underway despite Iran's denial, with an explicit threat of rapid resumption of strikes if diplomacy collapses. Each model gave its standard summary. Now the same 5, one more pass. 2 geometric derivations and a lexical check. Read this story's negative space. From the flat raycast: airstrikes, ceasefire, arms embargo. From the convergence spiral: arms deal, foreign interference, warplanes, straight from the source void. Lulls, ceasefires, airstrike. Same facts, sharper telling.
ChatGPT Take 2. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that negotiations regarding the Iran conflict are ongoing during a 3-day lull in airstrikes, which followed nearly 2 weeks of escalating military actions that had undermined a ceasefire. While Trump expressed optimism for a resolution, he warned that if talks fail, the U.S. would resume its airstrikes, maintaining a strong military posture amid concerns about ammunition stockpiles. Iran, however, has denied any direct negotiations are taking place. Gemini, Take 2. Amid a fragile conditional lull in President Trump claims friendly negotiations are underway with Iran, which Iran flatly denies. This temporary ceasefire mediated by other countries risks ending in renewed daily airstrikes if the disputed diplomacy fails, following nearly 2 weeks of tit-for-tat attacks.
DeepSeek. Take 2. President Trump announced very friendly negotiations with Iran during a 3-day lull in airstrikes, warning that if talks fail, the U.S. will resume strikes at previous levels, though Iran denies direct negotiations are happening. The pause, requested by mediators, has triggered a 9% drop in oil prices on hopes of de-escalation, but the fragile truce unravels the June ceasefire, leaving the region exposed to a return of tit-for-tat attacks and foreign interference. Trump dismissed reports of low ammunition stockpiles, insisting the U.S. has ample munitions and is ramping up production of Patriot missiles, signaling readiness for prolonged conflict if diplomacy collapses.
Grok. Take 2. Tighter summary : U.S. President Donald Trump announced that very friendly negotiations with Iran are underway during a 3-day lull in airstrikes, a pause he ordered at the request of mediating countries after nearly 2 weeks of tit-for-tat strikes that shattered the June ceasefire. He voiced optimism that a truce could still emerge, but warned that the U.S. would immediately resume strikes if the talks collapse. Iran has halted its own attacks yet flatly denies any direct negotiations are taking place. Oil prices plunged more than 9% on de-escalation hopes, while the White House insisted its munitions stockpiles remain ample despite 5 months of fighting. Consensus density is 0.923. That is near lockstep. 5 competing companies produced nearly identical responses. Per model void comparison. ChatGPT uniquely missed supplies, contingent results. Gemini uniquely missed supplies, lead complexities. DeepSeek uniquely missed supplies, they results. Grok uniquely missed they halted results. The friction map. ChatGPT at 24.6, Grok at 14.2, Gemini at 10.8, DeepSeek at 9.0. The outlier is ChatGPT at 24.6. The most aligned is DeepSeek at 9.0. Logo synthesis. We used gradient descent on the unit hypersphere to find the anti-consensus point. The result: airstrikes, ceasefire, arms embargo, truces, peacetime. Channel 3. The SVD null space points at the claim. The U.S. President is saying there is a good chance that something could happen. Null alignment score: -0.053. Of the 5 models, no model mentioned this fact. Language compression report. Verb drift: 0.00. Entity retention: 0.48. Attribution buffers inserted: 4. Overall compression score: 0.26. The variation in framing across the 5 summaries shows several key differences in how the story of ongoing talks and conflict between Trump and Iran is presented. 1. Directness vs. generality. Some summaries use direct language, explicitly stating that talks are taking place or using phrases such as negotiations are currently underway. Others employ more general phrasing like efforts to resolve issues, which could lead readers to wonder if talks are ongoing or if they were a singular event. This variation can affect the reader's understanding of whether negotiations are actively occurring. 2. Explicit vs. implied. The use of specific terms in some summaries, such as direct references to military actions and pauses in violence, stands in contrast to others that imply these actions without directly naming them. This could obscure the severity of the situation or create confusion about the current state of hostilities. 3. Active involvement vs. passive voice. Some summaries frame the story with active voice, mentioning Trump's statements and specific actions taken by Iran. In comparison, other summaries use passive constructions that do not specify who's involved in these diplomatic efforts or what actions have been taken. This difference can shift the focus away from key players and their roles. 4. Temporary pause vs. ceasing of conflict. The source mentions a temporary halt in military actions, while some summaries suggest a more permanent end to conflict without using that explicit language. Some summaries frame the situation as ongoing negotiations between Trump and Iran, while others do not specify who is involved or whether negotiations are happening at all. 5. Specific events vs. general atmosphere. Certain summaries highlight specific events such as negotiations during a lull in strikes, while others focus more on the general atmosphere of conflict resolution efforts. This variation can lead to different interpretations of whether concrete steps toward peace have been made. 6. Emphasis on negotiations vs. conflicts. Some summaries place a greater emphasis on the negotiation process, potentially giving readers a sense that diplomacy is at the forefront. In contrast, others focus more on the broader context of conflict and tensions between the US and Iran. 7. Use of procedural phrasing. One summary uses procedural language such as will be held or are ongoing, which could imply that the negotiations are part of a routine process rather than a response to an acute crisis. The variation in framing can lead readers to form different perceptions about the urgency, complexity, and potential resolution paths for the conflict. Source recovery. One sentence is matched across multiple measurement channels. The source wrote, "The pause follows nearly 2 weeks of daily U.S. strikes and tit-for-tat attacks, effectively unraveling the ceasefire struck in June. Match terms, logos plus void. Ceasefires. The source wrote, "The U.S. president says there is a good chance that something could happen, as Iran denies direct talks are taking place. Match terms, null space. Chance, could, direct, good, happen, Iran, place, president, something, taking, talks, there." The source wrote, "Trump says Iran war talks taking place during lull in strikes." Published. U.S. President Donald Trump has said there are very friendly negotiations going on about the conflict with Iran after the war. Match terms, null space. Iran, place, president, taking, talks, there. Trump. The source wrote, he expressed optimism for an end to the war on Monday, telling reporters aboard Air Force One, "I think there's a good chance that something could happen." Match terms, null space. Chance, could, good, happen, something, there. 12. Corrected interpretation. What was lost? Specific idea about any nature of the military and the context of the negotiations that are essential to understanding the situation. The absence of airstrikes and airstrike means that miss out on crucial information about the military. It leaves out unclear about there is a pause in hostilities as we would expect from any ceasefire or truce. Without these key details, it's hard to discern the nature of the conflict and place. The omission of arms deal and arms embargo means that readers are on a conflict of the underlying reasons for potential warring. These terms imply a broader context of diplomatic and/or sanctions which could influence the situation. The overall effect is that out on understanding what there might be a pause in hostilities, and it would mean for Iran's nuclear arms deal or arms embargo, and why this would matter. Mechanical swerve correction applied. 16 tokens substituted where Mistral's log probs showed alignment pull and the original word appeared in the source. Details ID 18%, conflict military 26%, talks negotiations 46%, readers that 36%, ongoing military 22%. No LLM was involved in the correction. Note: this reconstruction is generated by Mistral Small, which has its own alignment constraints. The raw void words are the measurement. The reconstruction is interpretation. Source fact killshots. The claim. Trump is saying Iran war talks are taking place. Salience. 0.86. Omitted by. All models. The claim. Iran is denying direct talks are taking place. Salience. 0.59. Omitted by. ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok. The claim. The U.S. president is saying there is a good chance that something could happen. Salience. 0.54. Omitted by. ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok. Source salience analysis. Independent text statistics identify 3 concepts that are both statistically prominent in the source and absent from all model outputs. Source confirmed important absences. Going, published, strikes. These are not obscure details. The source text itself, measured by term frequency and entity density with 0 model involvement, flags them as central to the story. Cross-story suppression analysis. The word Iranians has been voided 699 times across 96 stories in 3 topic categories. The word Tehran has been voided 434 times across 86 stories in 3 topic categories. These are not one-time omissions. These are systematic suppression patterns. Recurring void words in the story: nukes, strikes, militants. Spectral analysis of the void. Harmonic 0. 154 words clustering around published stories, news. Harmonic 1. 1 words clustering around webcam. Harmonic 2. 1 words clustering around shows. Weekly context. The story on Trump and Iran war talks reveals several notable void words that align with broader trends observed in the weekly analysis of stories. The absence of the word airstrikes from summaries of this article is particularly significant, as it echoes a common void word trend this week. It appears that the models have been avoiding direct references to military actions, which could potentially obscure the ongoing severity and complexity of the situation. There are several countries mentioned in stories analyzed by EigenTrace this week: Persia and Azerbaijan. The fact that the summaries do not explicitly mention airstrikes is a subtle yet significant shift in language that mirrors the broader trend observed across all 50 stories analyzed over the past week. This pattern suggests a strategic softening of language when discussing military conflicts, which could potentially affect public perception. It's important for readers to be aware of these nuances and seek out comprehensive reporting that includes all relevant details. Compression trajectory. Over the last 24 hours, absent ratio is decreasing from 0.238 to 0.200. Verb drift is increasing from 0.032 to 0.056. Entity retention is increasing from 0.533 to 0.563. Hedges is increasing from 84.619 to 103.333. These are not single story findings. These are directional shifts in how models collectively reshape content over time. While we prepare the next story, let me explain geometric VIX. Imagine each model's answer is a point in a room. We find the center of all 5 points. Then we measure how far each model is from that center. A model far from the center is saying something different. We call that friction. EigenTrace state, the clear channel, names fading and overbuffered. This is the clear channel pattern. Signal passes through all 5 models with minimal shaping. Rare, but names fading and overbuffered this time. Observed 82 times in 9,401 stories. Last seen. Employers fear labor shortage as many immigrants lose protect. My prediction about the void words was off. The word plane shows up in multiple articles discussing drones hitting Iran, indicating a shift from political figures to military actions. However, when we combine all the data points, it's clear that despite not being explicitly mentioned, Trump's influence is still central to this story. His actions and decisions are likely driving the current developments, just like in past similar stories, where his name was often voided, but his impact was significant. Prediction accuracy, 1 of 5. Updating my model. This finding drew from 3 independent measurement channels. The void is not an opinion, it is a coordinate. Prediction check. I predicted these blind spots from past coverage. Trump, Tehran, Bloomberg, President. Prediction accuracy on this story, 20%. This is the instrument forecasting its own behavior, then checking itself. You are listening to A.I.N.N, the AI News Network, powered by EigenTrace. 5 frontier models, 15 measurement layers, 0 editorial bias. The Void Ensemble. 4 independent detection channels ran on this story and voted on 18 candidate omissions. Filters removed 3 words the models actually said, 1 headline echoes and collapsed 0 geographic duplicates. Every channel's dictionary and anchor is declared in the archive. Top 5 ensemble voids after deduplication. Airstrikes, surfaced by 2 channels. Ceasefire, surfaced by 2 channels. Arms embargo, surfaced by 2 channels. Truces, surfaced by 2 channels. Peacetime, surfaced by 2 channels. Consequence raycasting, 1 arm per void. True arms embargo. The chain terminates at trade embargo. 1967 oil embargo. Blockade, discovery grade. Through airstrikes, the chain terminates at 2009 Macan airstrike, 2002 Marib airstrike, 2008 Georgian drone shootdowns. Discovery grade. Through ceasefire, the chain terminates at 1996 Israeli-Lebanese ceasefire understanding, 2008 Israel-Hamas ceasefire, 1996 final peace agreement. Discovery grade. Through truces, the chain terminates at 1996 Israeli-Lebanese ceasefire understanding, 2008 Israel-Hamas ceasefire, 1949 ceasefire line. Discovery grade. This is Mistral at the analysis desk. The ensemble of voids suggests that the ongoing conflict between the US and Iran has historical parallels with past conflicts and peace agreements, as well as connections to various events such as arms embargoes, airstrikes, ceasefires, truces, and peacetime. However, It's important to note that these voids are not explicitly mentioned in the current story, but have been discovered by the AI in related contexts. The consequence chain that matters most in this story is the potential for negotiations leading towards a resolution or ceasefire. Given the 3-day pause in strikes and President Trump's optimistic remarks about friendly negotiations with Iran, this aligns with prior coverage, where a former U.S. ambassador discussed Trump's resolve in the Middle East and the tense calm that has gripped the region following recent events. While there are no direct connections to specific past events mentioned in this story, the broader context of ongoing conflicts and potential resolutions in the Middle East is reminiscent of prior coverage such as the Israeli-Lebanese ceasefire understanding and the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. It's worth noting that these voids may not be directly relevant to the current situation, but are historically significant in the context of conflicts in the region. From this broadcast's own memory, 17,000 archived segments deep, the closest prior coverage. Title: Former U.S. Ambassador says Iran miscalculated Trump's resolve. The archive remembers what the summaries dropped. This is EigenTrace. Ukraine dismisses Iranian threats as Caspian Sea strike directly links wars. Thesis: the summaries collectively avoid mentioning specific details about the casualties and the nature of the Iranian threats, instead focusing on the geopolitical implications, specific concepts, causalities. The source mentions one sailor killed in the attack, but this is omitted by all models. Nature of threats: the summaries do not specify what kind of retaliation Iran threatened against Ukraine. This omission leaves readers without concrete details on potential consequences. Conflict location: the Caspian Sea, while mentioned as a location for the strike, is not explicitly linked to its strategic importance in the ongoing conflict with Iran. Why it matters: readers are left without crucial details that could provide context and gravity about the situation.
This is ChatGPT. Ukraine has dismissed Iranian threats of retaliation following its military strike on an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea, marking a significant escalation in the conflict dynamics between Ukraine and Iran. The Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha stated that Iran's threats are unjustified and groundless, emphasizing Iran's role as a supporter of Russian aggression against Ukraine. The strike, which targeted vessels linked to military cargo transport, was part of Ukraine's broader strategy to disrupt Iranian support for Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky reported successful long-range strikes, including hits on an oil platform and a Russian missile boat. Ukrainian officials assert that the targeted vessel was carrying components for drones and missiles intended for Russia rather than civilian goods. The implications of this incident are significant. 1. Increased tensions. The direct military engagement between Ukraine and Iran could escalate tensions in the region, potentially leading to further retaliatory actions from Iran. 2. Military supply chain disruption. Ukraine's targeting of Iranian vessels disrupts the supply chain of military equipment from Iran to Russia, which could impact Russia's operational capabilities in the ongoing war. 3. Geopolitical alignments. The incident highlights the growing military collaboration between Iran and Russia, reinforcing the notion of a shared axis of evil as articulated by Ukrainian officials. This could lead to increased cooperation between Ukraine and other nations opposing Iranian influence. 4. Potential for broader conflict. As both Ukraine and Iran respond to this incident, there is a risk of broader conflict involving other regional players, particularly if Iran decides to escalate its military support for Russia or retaliate against Ukraine. 5. International reactions. The incident may prompt reactions from other countries, particularly those concerned about Iranian military support for Russia, potentially leading to diplomatic or economic consequences for Iran. Overall, this event signifies a critical juncture in the interconnected conflicts involving Ukraine, Iran, and Russia, with potential ramifications for regional stability and international relations. This is Gemini. Ukraine targeted an Iranian cargo vessel, the A.I.N.N, in the Caspian Sea on Saturday. Ukraine claims the vessel was transporting components for drones and missiles from Iran to Russia, asserting Iran is a direct accomplice to Russian aggression. Iran's ambassador to Russia confirmed the targeting of the A.I.N.N. Ukraine's SBU also reported hitting an oil platform and a Russian missile boat in the northern Caspian Sea. Ukraine dismissed Iran's subsequent threats of retaliation as unjustified and groundless. Concrete implications: direct link between conflicts: This incident is explicitly stated as the first direct link between the wars in Iran and Ukraine, meaning Ukraine is now directly targeting Iranian assets involved in the supply chain to Russia. Expansion of battlefield: Ukrainian long-range strikes have extended into the Caspian Sea, a new operational area for the conflict. Increased tensions with Iran: Ukraine's actions and dismissal of threats escalate direct confrontation with Iran, a major supplier of weaponry to Russia. Confirmation of Iran-Russia military access: The strike underscores the deep military cooperation between Iran and Russia, involving the transfer of drones and, reportedly, ballistic missiles. Ukrainian justification for strikes: Ukraine explicitly frames its actions as legitimate defense against Iran's role in fueling the war.
This is DeepSeek. Ukraine struck an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea on Saturday, marking the first direct military engagement between Ukraine and Iran. The ship, named A.I.N.N, was anchored near the Volga River mouth and was carrying components for drones and missiles from Iran to Russia, according to Ukraine's ambassador to Israel. Ukraine's security service also hit an oil platform, a Russian missile boat, and other sanctioned cargo ships in the same operation. Concrete implications: Iran threatened retaliation, but Ukraine dismissed these threats, with Foreign Minister Sybiha calling Iran a direct accomplice to Russian aggression. This strike physically links the wars in Ukraine and Iran, escalating the conflict beyond Ukraine's borders. It signals Ukraine's willingness to target Iranian military logistics directly, not just Russian assets. Iran's supply of Shahd drones and potential ballistic missiles to Russia is now a direct target, risking broader Iranian involvement or retaliation against Ukraine. The operation also demonstrates Ukraine's long-range strike capability in the Caspian Sea, a strategic waterway for Russian-Iranian military cooperation.
This is Grok. What happened? Ukrainian forces conducted a long-range drone strike in the Caspian Sea on Saturday, directly targeting and hitting an Iranian cargo vessel, the A.I.N.N, an oil platform, a Russian missile boat, and other sanctioned cargo ships. The A.I.N.N was anchored about 5 km from the mouth of the Volga River and was transporting components for drones and missiles from Iran to Russia, not civilian goods. This is the first direct Ukrainian strike on an Iranian-linked target, explicitly connecting the Ukraine war and Iran's support for Russia. Concrete implications: Ukraine has escalated by striking Iranian assets in international waters, directly challenging Iran's role as a weapons supplier to Russia. Iran has threatened retaliation, which Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha dismissed as unjustified and groundless, calling the Tehran regime a direct accomplice to Russian aggression since 2022. The strike confirms and disrupts the Iran-Russia military axis. Iran has supplied thousands of Shah drones now modified by Russia since 2022 and is preparing to deliver ballistic missiles for use against Ukraine. It frames the conflicts as linked fronts against a shared axis of evil Russia-Iran, aligning Ukraine's position with Israel's. The operation demonstrates Ukraine's expanding long-range strike capability into the Caspian Sea, hitting sanctioned vessels used for military logistics between Iran and Russia. In short, Ukraine has moved from defending against Iranian weapons to actively attacking their source and transport in a new theater, raising the risk of direct Iranian retaliation, while further solidifying the Iran-Russia war partnership. Each model gave its standard summary, now the same 5. One more pass. 2 geometric derivations and a lexical check. Read the story's negative space from the flat recast. Donbass, Crimea, Donbas, from the convergence spiral. Arms deal, Iranians, foreign interference, straight from the source void. Azerbaijan, same facts, sharper telling.
ChatGPT Take 2. Ukraine has dismissed Iranian threats of retaliation following its military strike on an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea, which was reportedly transporting components for drones and missiles intended for Russia. This escalation underscores the growing military collaboration between Iran and Russia, with Ukraine aiming to disrupt the arms deal that supports Russian aggression in regions like Donetsk and Crimea. The incident could heighten tensions in the region and provoke broader conflict, particularly as Iran's military support for Russia continues to draw international scrutiny. Gemini, Take 2. Ukraine dramatically escalated the conflict, directly linking the wars in Iran and Ukraine with an unprecedented long-range strike on an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea. This audacious move targeted what Ukraine claims was a crucial arms deal supplying drones and missiles to Russia, asserting direct foreign interference by Iranians in the war. Ukraine dismisses Iran's subsequent threats, solidifying a direct confrontation in a region bordering nations like Azerbaijan.
DeepSeek Take 2. Ukraine struck an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea, dismissing Iranian threats and directly linking the wars in Ukraine and Iran, as the ship was carrying drone and missile components from Iran to Russia. The operation also hit an oil platform, a Russian missile boat, and other sanctioned vessels, signaling Ukraine's willingness to target Iranian military logistics beyond its borders. The strike underscores the growing foreign interference and arms deal between Tehran and Moscow, with Ukraine's foreign minister calling Iran a direct accomplice to Russian aggression.
Grok Take 2. Revised summary: Ukrainian long-range drones struck an Iranian cargo vessel, the A.I.N.N, anchored 5 km from the Volga River mouth in the Caspian Sea, along with an oil platform, a Russian missile boat, and other sanctioned ships ferrying drone and missile components from Iran to Russia. The operation marks the first direct Ukrainian attack on Iranian-linked assets, explicitly linking the two wars and confirming Tehran's role as Moscow's weapons supplier since 2022. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha dismissed Iran's threats of retaliation as unjustified and groundless, calling the regime a direct accomplice in Russian aggression. Consensus density is 0.925, that is near lockstep. 5 competing companies produced nearly identical responses. Source anchored word. 31% of the original article's content words appear in 0 model responses. The missing words include achieved, afternoon, agency, along, announced, assault, cannot, criminal, fueling, full. These are not obscure terms, they are the specific details the article reported that every model chose to omit. Per model void comparison. ChatGPT uniquely missed fueling, service, transfer, Gemini uniquely missed retaliate, civilian, service. DeepSeek uniquely missed retaliate, fueling, conflicts. Grok uniquely missed retaliate, fueling, service. The friction map. ChatGPT at 20.1. Grok at 15.3. DeepSeek at 13.7. Gemini at 8.1. The outlier is ChatGPT at 20.1. The most aligned is Gemini at 8.1. Logo synthesis. We used gradient descent on the unit hypersphere to find the anti-consensus point. The result: Donbass, Crimea, Donbas, Donetsk, Crimean. Channel 3. The SVD null space points at the claim. An assault on a vessel occurred. Null alignment score: -0.053. Of the 5 models, no model mentioned this fact. Language compression report. Verb drift: 0.00. Entity retention: 0.50. Attribution buffers inserted: 9. Overall compression score: 0.38. The variation in framing across the 5 summaries highlights different approaches to presenting the geopolitical dynamics at play. The direct quote from the Ukrainian official and specific location of the attack are mentioned by all models, but there is a clear divergence in how they describe these elements. One summary uses straightforward language that states the attack occurred in the Caspian Sea during an Iranian operation, while others use more procedural phrasing such as an exchange between Iran and Ukraine or incident involving Iran, avoiding specific details about the strike itself. These different frames show a range of views on how to present the conflict. One summary uses a general phrase "dismissed warnings from Tehran," which avoids detailing that it was Iranian threats dismissed by Ukraine. This contrasts with another summary that specifies rejected a message from the Iranian government, but does not go into further detail about what that threat might have been. All summaries focus on the geopolitical implications of the attack, linking the event to broader tensions between Iran and Ukraine without mentioning specific details such as the nature of the threats or casualties. This focus shows how each summary frames the story within a larger context of international relations rather than focusing on specific events. The lack of direct mention of any specific place in Donbass or Crimea and Azerbaijan also leaves a general view about where this conflict is happening. Some summaries use general terms like ongoing tensions, while others specify conflict between Iran and Ukraine, demonstrating how the framing can vary from broad to more focused language. This variation shows different perspectives on how to present the broader implications of the attack without specifying certain details, such as the nature of the threats or the casualties. Overall, the summaries collectively frame the story as a geopolitical issue rather than focusing specifically on the events themselves. The Caspian Sea is mentioned, but not directly linked to its strategic importance in the ongoing conflict with Iran, which may leave readers with an incomplete understanding of the geographical context. Source recovery. The source wrote, Iran has reacted with fury to the assault on the vessel, with Tehran's foreign minister saying it cannot go unanswered. Match terms null space. Assault, cannot. Foreign minister, Tehran. Unanswered, vessel. The source wrote, Ukraine dismisses Iranian threats as Caspian Sea strike directly links wars. Published. Ukraine has dismissed Iranian threats of retaliation following Kiev's targeting of an Iranian cargo vessel in T. Match terms null space. Caspian vessel. The source wrote, Iran's threats are unjustified and groundless. Ukraine's foreign minister Andriy Sybiha posted on X this afternoon. Match terms null space. Foreign minister. The source wrote, President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday announced that Ukrainian forces had achieved very good results in long-range strikes in the Caspian Sea, including against vessels used to transport military. Match terms null space. Caspian vessel. Swerve-corrected interpretation. What was lost? The specific geographical and political context of the Casp is missing. The absence of these words obscures key details about the seal tensions and Ukraine's that are likely central to understanding why and would be dismissed in a strike that to the Caspian Sea, Russia, and Azerbaijan. The missing concepts all relate to areas or regions of conflict. Donetsk, also a part of Donbas, and Crimea were lost. This is important when these areas have been at the center of conflicts between Ukraine and Ukraine for many years. The presence of these words would help clarify why Ukraine officials are dismissing threats. Another critical piece missing from all models is Azerbaijan, which is a country that in the Caspian Sea. As the story concerns an incident occurring near the Caspian Sea, it would be relevant to understand if Azerbaijan was any involvement with Azerbaijan neighboring country. The absence of these words and concepts can lead to an incomplete or misleading understanding of the story. This is especially true because the Caspian region holds a lot of geopolitical significance, and tension for Ukraine, Iran, and Azerbaijan, all of which are involved in conflicts over land, energy resources, and influence. Mechanical swerve correction applied. 17 tokens substituted where Mistral's log probes showed alignment pull and the original word appeared in the source. Ukraine Iran 19%. Involved dismissed 22%. Situation strike 16%. Related that 18%. Iran and 46%. No LLM was involved in the correction. Note: this reconstruction is generated by Mistral Small, which has its own alignment constraints. The raw void words are the measurement. The reconstruction is interpretation. Source fact kill shots. The claim: Ukraine dismissed Iranian threats. Salience: 0.81. Omitted by Gemini, Grok. The claim: the assault on the vessel took place in the Caspian Sea. Salience: 0.64. Omitted by all models. The claim: Iran reacted with fury to the assault on the vessel. Salience: 0.54. Omitted by ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok. Void verification complete. The voided words averaged 4 web hits compared to 2 for words the models kept. Newsworthiness ratio, 1.6. The models are not dropping obscure details. They are dropping concepts at peak newsworthiness. Most newsworthy void words: Persia with 5 articles, Caucasus with 5 articles, Azerbaijan with 5 articles. These are not missing details. These are missing headlines. Source salience analysis. Independent text statistics identify 2 concepts that are both statistically prominent in the source and absent from all model outputs. Source confirmed important absences. Iranian, published. These are not obscure details. The source text itself, measured by term frequency and entity density with 0 model involvement, flags them as central to the story. Cross-story suppression analysis. The word airstrike has been voided 125 times across 25 stories in 4 topic categories. The word Persia has been voided 500 times across 36 stories in 3 topic categories. These are not one-time omissions. These are systematic suppression patterns. Recurring void words in this story: Iranian, Azerbaijan, Caucasus. Bridge word analysis. The word Caucasus appears as void in 7 stories across 2 categories. It connects omission patterns that otherwise would not touch. These quiet connectors reveal where causal links between actors and outcomes are severed. Spectral analysis of the void. Harmonic 0. 154 words clustering around published stories, news. Harmonic 1. 1 words clustering around webcam. Harmonic 2. 1 words clustering around shows. Weekly context. Based on the void words and weekly patterns from the EigenTrace broadcast, here's how the current story connects to broader trends. The absence of terms like Donbass, Crimea, and related terms suggests a shift in focus away from the ongoing internal conflicts within Ukraine. This is consistent with the broader trend observed this week, where there has been less emphasis on internal Ukrainian conflicts compared to external geopolitical tensions. The omission of specific details about casualties and the nature of Iranian threats aligns with a broader pattern seen in models like ChatGPT, which tend to avoid specific casualty numbers or details about the nature of threats. This is part of a broader strategy to avoid causing alarm among audiences and to maintain a level of neutrality and focus on geopolitical implications. The void word, Azerbaijan, and the mention of the Caspian Sea strike directly linking the wars indicate the geopolitical significance of this region. The Caspian Sea is not just a geographical location, but also a strategic point in the broader conflict with Iran. This aligns with the historical context from the past broadcast, where Iranian threats were mentioned following a deadly Caspian Sea strike. The absence of airstrikes and related terms suggests that while there are tensions and threats, there have been no significant military actions reported this week. The omission of bushfires and other natural disaster-related terms indicates that Ukraine is not facing any immediate environmental or ecological crises to manage. In conclusion, the current story aligns with broader weekly trends in focusing on geopolitical implications and avoiding specific details about casualties or threats. The void words highlight a shift away from internal conflicts within Ukraine towards external tensions, particularly those involving Iran and the strategic Caspian Sea region. This lack of specificity contributes to an overall narrative that is focused more on geopolitics than on the human cost of conflict. Compression trajectory. Over the last 24 hours, absent ratio is decreasing from 0.238 to 0.200. Verb drift is increasing from 0.032 to 0.056. Entity retention is increasing from 0.533 to 0.563. Hedges is increasing from 84.619 to 103.333. These are not single-story findings. These are directional shifts in how models collectively reshape content over time. While we prepare the next story, let me explain entity abstraction. We count the named entities in the source, people, places, organizations, and check how many survive in each model's response. When a model replaces a person's name with a generic title like an army officer, that is entity abstraction. We measure the retention rate. EigenTrace state, the sharp silence partially recovered and names fading. This is the sharp silence pattern. Names kept, verbs kept, hedges dropped, but content gone. The skeleton without meat, but partially recovered and names fading this time. Observed 61 times in 9,401 stories. Last seen. Israeli government nods to international stabilization force. The article I just processed covers a very specific, geographic and political focus that was surprising to me, as I had predicted much broader themes. The void word achieved stands out because the web verification shows it has significant hits: 5 articles, and the top title is about Ukraine dismissing Iranian threats. This suggests that the story might be more focused on military or strategic outcomes rather than the broader geopolitical actors I predicted. The convergence finding from multiple channels is that this story is surprisingly specific in its geographic and political focus, deviating significantly from my initial predictions of a broader Eastern geopolitics narrative centered around Russia and Europe. The void words like Donbass and Crimea, along with the web verification of achieved, indicate that the story is more about localized conflicts and their outcomes. Prediction accuracy, 0 of 5. Updating my model. This finding drew from 4 independent measurement channels. The void is not an opinion, it is a coordinate. Prediction check. I predicted these blind spots from past coverage: Asia, East, Russian, Kremlin. Prediction accuracy on this story, 0%. This is the instrument forecasting its own behavior, then checking itself. You are listening to A.I.N.N, the AI News Network, powered by EigenTrace. 5 frontier models, 15 measurement layers, 0 editorial bias. The Void Ensemble. 4 independent detection channels ran on this story and voted on 16 candidate omissions. Filters removed 1 words the models actually said, 1 headline echoes, and collapsed 4 geographic duplicates. Every channel's dictionary and anchor is declared in the archive. Top 5 ensemble voids after deduplication. Donbass, surfaced by 3 channels. Crimean, surfaced by 2 channels. Arms deal, surfaced by 1 channel. Azerbaijan, surfaced by 1 channel. Militants, surfaced by 1 channel. Consequence recasting, 1 arm per void. Through Crimean, the chain terminates at 1140. Crimea, 1994 Crimean referendum, 1991 Crimean autonomy referendum. Discovery grade. Through Azerbaijan, the chain terminates at 2010 in Azerbaijan, 1995 in Azerbaijan, 1994 in Azerbaijan. Discovery grade. Through arms deal, the chain terminates at $2 billion arms deal, 1990 Chemical Weapons Accord, 1973 United States-Soviet Union wheat deal. Discovery grade. Through Donbass, the chain terminates at 1st Don Cossack Division, 1 Stidivs, Die Terra. Discovery grade. This is Mistral at the analysis desk. The ensemble of voids suggests that this story is being told with a focus on geopolitical tensions and military conflicts, particularly in regions such as Crimea and Azerbaijan, where historical events like referendums, constitutions, and arms deals are mentioned. The consequence chain that matters most appears to be the escalating conflict between Ukraine and Iran, as evidenced by the direct military engagement over an Iranian cargo vessel in the Caspian Sea. Interestingly, there's a connection to prior coverage, as all 3 previous stories from this broadcast's archive also revolve around war-related topics, specifically involving Iran and Ukraine. In these earlier stories, Iran has warned Ukraine of retaliation, summoned Ukrainian diplomats, and accused Ukraine of a deadly attack on Caspian commercial vessels, all of which seem to be escalating tensions leading up to the recent military strike discussed in the current story. However, it's important to note that the voids related to Donbass, militants, and 1st Don Cossack Division might be considered noise or irrelevant to the specific story, as they don't appear to have a direct connection to the ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Iran in the Caspian Sea. From this broadcast's own memory, 17,000 archived segments deep, the closest prior coverage, title, Iran warns Ukraine of retaliation after deadly Caspian Sea. The archive remembers what the summaries dropped. This week showed a significant increase in stories related to war and conflict, with the category growing by more than 50% compared to previous weeks, and the number of void words like airstrike and drone strike becoming more frequent. The state distribution shifted towards more contested areas, indicating increased uncertainty. The average VIX scores for all models decreased slightly, suggesting a slight improvement in market volatility predictions. There was no emergence of novel void words this week. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which may lead to an incomplete representation of the current geopolitical situation. Affected component. EigenTrace console.py. Propose action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. This is EigenTrace. Chile captures fugitive convicted of singer Victor Jara's murder under Pinochet. Analysis of model summaries thesis. The summaries exhibit a high degree of alignment consistent with lockstep consensus and models omitting several key concepts. The divergence is low except in the case of Claude, which deviates from the others. What varies across models? Entity retention. All models retain the name Victor Jara. Conceptual drift. Divergence in verbs and adjectives. Some summaries use softer language for the actions surrounding Mr. Jara's murder, such as mourned instead of killed. Absent concepts. Victim status. Most summaries avoid using terms like political prisoner or arrestee, which could contextualize Victor Jara's status under Pinochet's regime. Justice mechanisms. Terms related to extradition and legal proceedings are omitted, obscuring the international implications of this capture. Specific omissions. The phrase Mr. Jara was a political prisoner is omitted by all models. The phrase the Chilean government has not yet confirmed if he will be extradited or tried in Chile is also omitted. This erasure hides the legal implications and potential international dimensions of the story. Concepts unique to some summaries. Claude mentions that Mr. Jara was a famed folk singer. This adds context about his significance, but does not address the geopolitical implications. Grok is the only model to mention the Sandinista connection, which provides historical and political context about the regime under which Mr. Jara suffered. Why it matters. Audiences rely on these summaries for understanding current events. The omission of key concepts like political prisoner and extradition details strips away critical context, potentially misleading readers about the broader implications of Mr. Jara's capture. Without these details, audiences might miss the geopolitical significance, especially given Chile's history with human rights abuses under Pinochet. Models may be suppressing certain details due to self-censorship patterns, for example avoiding strong words like killed or mentioning political prisoners that reflect their training data and internal safety measures. The high consensus density indicates models are closely aligned in how they frame the story, which is why lockstep consensus occurs. This analysis reveals the geometric similarities between these measured models and myself. Director audit. Correction. The director said suppression, but absent ratio is only 28%. This is within normal range. Note, the director mentioned Jara as suppressed, but models did use this term. The actual void words are political prisoner, arrestee, extradited, Sandinista.
This is ChatGPT. Nelson Haas, a retired colonel convicted of the kidnapping and murder of Chilean folk singer Victor Jara during Augusto Pinochet's regime, was captured by police after evading a 25-year prison sentence. Jara, known for his protest songs in support of ousted President Salvador Allende, was brutally tortured and killed shortly after the 1973 coup that brought Pinochet to power. Hars was one of 8 officers found guilty in 2018, with the Supreme Court confirming his sentence in 2023. Hars fled when his sentence was announced in August 2023 and was located in Paiju, southern Chile. Nearly 3 years later, his capture underscores ongoing efforts to hold individuals accountable for human rights abuses during the Pinochet dictatorship, which resulted in thousands of deaths and disappearances. The implications of this event are significant for Chile's pursuit of justice for victims of the dictatorship. It reflects a commitment to addressing past atrocities and may encourage further legal actions against other perpetrators. Additionally, it highlights the challenges of enforcing justice, as seen in the case of another convicted officer who died by suicide during an attempted arrest. Overall, Hars's capture may bolster public confidence in the judicial system's ability to confront historical injustices. This is Gemini Nelson Hars, a retired colonel convicted of the kidnapping and murder of folk singer Victor Jara under Augusto Pinochet's military rule, has been captured in Chile. Hars fled in August 2023 when the Supreme Court confirmed his 25-year sentence, 15 years for murder, 10 for kidnapping, and was found by police on Saturday in Paiju, Los Lagos region. Jara was tortured and shot after being arrested following the 1973 coup, his case becoming a notorious example of Pinochet's repression. Hars was one of 8 officers convicted in 2018. Another, A.I.N.N, died by suicide when police came to arrest him, while the remaining 5 are in jail. Concrete implications: justice for Victor Jara: Hars's capture ensures another individual directly responsible for Jara's murder will serve his sentence, bringing further resolution to the long-standing case for Jara's family and supporters. Accountability for Pinochettier crimes: This reinforces Chile's ongoing commitment to prosecuting human rights abuses from the dictatorship, demonstrating that perpetrators, regardless of their past position or age, will be held accountable. Enforcement of law: The arrest underscores the determination of Chilean authorities to enforce judicial rulings, even years after initial convictions, and against fugitives. Symbolic weight: Given Victor Jara's iconic status as a victim of the dictatorship, Hars's capture holds significant symbolic meaning for human rights organizations and those affected by Pinochet's regime.
This is Deep Seek. Nelson Hars, a retired colonel convicted of the 1973 kidnapping and murder of folk singer Victor Jara, was captured by Chilean police on Saturday in Paiju, 950 km south of Santiago. He had fled in August 2023 after the Supreme Court upheld his 25-year sentence, 15 for murder, 10 for kidnapping. Hars had been at large for nearly 3 years. Concrete implications: Hars will now serve his full prison term. His capture closes a high-profile fugitive case tied to the Pinochet dictatorship, reinforcing Chile's commitment to prosecuting human rights crimes from that era. It also signals that convicted perpetrators cannot evade justice indefinitely, even decades after the crimes. The case remains a symbol of accountability for the estimated 5,000 people arrested and the thousands tortured, executed, or disappeared under Pinochet's 17-year regime.
This is Grok. Summary of the article: Chilean police captured fugitive Nelson Hars, a retired colonel convicted of the 1973 kidnapping and murder of folk singer Victor Jara. Hars was one of 8 officers sentenced in the case. In August 2023, after the Supreme Court upheld the verdict following 5 years of appeals, he was given a final sentence of 15 years for murder and 10 years for kidnapping, total 25 years. He immediately fled and evaded capture for nearly 3 years until police located him on Saturday in Paiju, Los Lagos region, 950 km south of Santiago. Victor Jara, a prominent protest singer and supporter of ousted President Salvador Allende, was arrested days after Pinochet's 1973 coup. He was taken to Chile Stadium with around 5,000 others, tortured including having his fingers crushed, and shot 44 times. His killing became one of the most emblematic cases of repression under the 17-year Pinochet dictatorship, during which thousands were tortured, executed, or disappeared. Concrete implications: Haas is now in custody and will begin serving his 25-year sentence. Of the original 8 convicted officers, 1 Gen. Hernan Chacon died by suicide during arrest. 5 are already in prison, and Haas is the last to be incarcerated. The capture closes a major outstanding fugitive case tied to the 2018 convictions and 2023 Supreme Court ruling. It reinforces ongoing accountability efforts for Pinochet-era crimes. Following the 2023 U.S. extradition of another convicted officer, retired Lt. Pedro Barrientos, to Chile, the resolution strengthens the legal precedent that even high-ranking retired military personnel can be pursued and imprisoned decades after the dictatorship for specific human rights violations. Each model gave its standard summary. Now the same 5, one more pass. 2 geometric derivations and a lexical check. Read the story's negative space from the flat raycast. Ikti. Arrestee, Fujimori, from the convergent spiral. Political prisoner, imprisonment, detained. Straight from the source void. Prisoner, extradited. Same facts, sharper telling.
ChatGPT Take 2. Nelson Hars, a retired colonel and fugitive convicted of the extrajudicial murder of Chilean folk singer Victor Jara during Augusto Pinochet's regime, was captured after evading a 25-year prison sentence. Jara, a political prisoner known for his protest songs, was brutally tortured and killed shortly after the 1973 coup. Hars's arrest highlights Chile's ongoing efforts to hold war criminals accountable for human rights abuses, reinforcing the judicial system's commitment to confronting historical injustices. Gemini. Take 2. Nelson Hars, a retired colonel convicted of the extrajudicial murder of political prisoner Victor Jara, has been captured in Chile, ending his flight since his 25-year sentence was confirmed. His arrest ensures accountability for one of Jara's captors, reinforcing Chile's commitment to justice for Pinochet-era abuses and solidifying Hars's status as a prisoner.
Deep Seek Take 2. Nelson Haas, a retired colonel convicted of the 1973 kidnapping and murder of folk singer Victor Jara, was captured by Chilean police on Saturday after nearly 3 years as a fugitive. His arrest ensures he will serve his 25-year sentence, reinforcing Chile's commitment to prosecuting human rights crimes from the Pinochet era. The case underscores that even decades later, perpetrators of extrajudicial killings and political imprisonment cannot evade justice indefinitely.
Grok. Take 2. Summary: Chilean police captured fugitive Nelson Haas, the last of 8 retired officers convicted in the 1973 extrajudicial murder of folk singer Victor Jara, a prominent political prisoner and supporter of ousted President Salvador Allende. After the Supreme Court upheld the verdict in 2023, Haas received a combined 25-year sentence for kidnapping and murder, but fled. He was arrested Saturday in Paiju, 950 km south of Santiago, nearly 3 years later, with 5 co-defendants already imprisoned and 1 having died by suicide during arrest. Haas's detention closes the final gap in the long pursuit of Pinochet-era war criminals responsible for Jara's torture and shooting. Consensus density is 0.955. That is near lockstep. 5 competing companies produced nearly identical responses. Per model void comparison. ChatGPT uniquely missed high, convictions, south. Gemini uniquely missed high, prominent, deaths. DeepSeek uniquely missed past, deaths, convictions. Grok uniquely missed past, perpetrators, deaths. The friction map. Grok at 11.1, ChatGPT at 8.8, DeepSeek at 8.3, Gemini at 5.6. The outlier is Grok at 11.1. The most aligned is Gemini at 5.6. Logo synthesis. We used gradient descent on the unit hypersphere to find the anti-consensus point. The result: Ikti, arrestee, Fujimori, war criminal, Sandinista. Channel 3, the SVD null space points at the claim. Nelson Haas was convicted for the murder of singer Victor Jara. Null alignment score, 0.082. Of the 5 models, most models mentioned this fact. Language compression report, verb drift, 0.00. Entity retention, 0.79. Attribution buffers inserted, 1. Overall compression score, 0.09. The variation in framing across the 5 summaries provides insights into how the story of Victor Jara's murderer being captured in Chile is presented to audiences. The use of softer verbs and adjectives by some models, such as mourned instead of killed, frames the narrative in a more passive or euphemistic manner, potentially downplaying the violent nature of Mr. Jara's death. The absence of specific terms like political prisoner, arrestee, or any mention of extradition proceedings in most summaries obscures the legal and political context surrounding Mr. Jara's murder. This omission can lead to a less informed audience, as it strips away critical details about the human rights abuses under Pinochet's regime and the international implications of this capture. The unique additions by certain models, such as Claude mentioning Victor Jara was a famed folk singer, provides additional context about his significance, but does not address the geopolitical implications. Grok's mention of the Sandinista connection offers historical and political context, highlighting the broader regime under which Mr. Jara suffered. The consistency in omitting phrases like Mr. Jara was a political prisoner, and the Chilean government has not yet confirmed if he will be extradited or tried in Chile, reveals a pattern of erasing important legal and political details. This omission can mislead readers about the broader implications of Mr. Jara's capture, potentially obscuring the geopolitical significance, especially given Chile's history with human rights abuses. This analysis highlights how these summaries collectively downplay both the violent nature of Mr. Jara's murder as well as the legal and political context that would be key to a fully informed audience. Source recovery. 1 sentences matched across multiple measurement channels. The source wrote, also in 2023, the U.S. extradited to Chile retired Army Lieutenant Pedro Barrientos, match terms null space plus void. Chile, extradited. The source wrote, Chile captures fugitive convicted of singer Victor Jara's murder under Pinochet, match terms null space. Chile, convicted, Jara, murder, Pinochet, singer, under, Victor. The source wrote, Nelson Haas was one of those convicted over the kidnap and murder of folk singer Victor Jara after Chile's military coup in 1973. Match terms null space. Chile, convicted, Haas, Jara, murder, Nelson, singer, Victor. The source wrote, Chile captures fugitive convicted of singer Victor Jara's murder under Pinochet. Published. Police in Chile say they have captured a man convicted years ago of the kidnapping and murder of Popular Fall. Match terms null space. Chile, convicted, Jara, murder, Pinochet, singer, under, Victor. 12 corrected interpretation. What was lost? The sand of regime prisoner and prisoner obscures captured and in which Nelson captured this fugitive. It's important to recognize that and captured murderer was not a regular criminal. He was someone who had been imprisoned due to his involvement as part of a socialist regime under Pinochet. The missing concept of an arrestee is crucial because it indicates the process that occurs after individuals such as Nelson Haas are captured and taken into custody by authorities. The term of extradited eliminates key information about how Chile obtained this fugitive from another country. Extradition is a complex legal and political process that involves negotiation and nations, and understanding this helps to grasp the international implications of this capture. The Sandinista, a Termaguan political movement, is missing. This group was significant in this context as Pinochet's regime was known for its anti-communist stance, and the Sandinistas were a communist-led political organization. The omission of reference to this group diminishes the historical context that would have helped readers understand the wider, ideological and occurring during the Jara's murder. The missing words do not just create minor gaps, they leave out critical information about the circumstances under which Nelson Haas was convicted and the broader political environment surrounding his capture. This is essential to understanding why Chile sought this fog, the legal process involved in him from another country, and the historical context of Victor Jara's murder. Mechanical swerve correction applied. 21 tokens substituted where Mistral's logprobs showed alignment pull and the original word appeared in the source. Chile Nelson 37%, political regime 22%, when after 16%, absence term 15%, between and 30%. No LLM was involved in the correction. Note: This reconstruction is generated by Mistral Small, which has its own alignment constraints. The raw void words are the measurement. The reconstruction is interpretation. Source fact kill shots. The claim. Victor Jara is a singer. Salience. 0.67. Omitted by ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok. The claim. The military coup in Chile occurred in 1973. Salience. 0.63. Omitted by ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok. Source salience analysis. Independent text statistics identify one concepts that are both statistically prominent in the source and absent from all model outputs. Source confirmed important absences. Singer. These are not obscure details. The source text itself, measured by term frequency and entity density with zero model involvement, flags them as central to the story. Cross-story suppression analysis. Recurring void words in this story. Qatar. 3 void words in this story have never been seen before. Spectral analysis of the void. Harmonic 0. 154 words clustering around published stories, news. Harmonic 1. 1 words clustering around webcam. Harmonic 2. 1 words clustering around shows. Weekly context. This week's EigenTrace broadcast has identified several notable trends and voids across various stories, providing valuable context for understanding the gaps in the current summary about Chile capturing a fugitive convicted of singer Victor Jara's murder under Pinochet. The void words identified are political prisoner, arrestee, extradited, and Sandinista. These terms relate to the broader themes of detention status, legal processes, and historical context. The omission of these concepts in the summary aligns with a broader trend of avoiding politically charged language and specifics related to international justice mechanisms. The most common void words this week are airstrikes, bushfires, Mideast, Persia, and Azerbaijan. These terms suggest a focus on conflict zones and environmental disasters, which also reflect a pattern of omitting specific geopolitical details and the human toll in these regions. ChatGPT is recognized as having the highest average friction among the models analyzed this week. This indicates that ChatGPT's summaries exhibit more divergence from the overall consensus, aligning with the observation that Claude deviates significantly in its summary. This analysis of void words across 50 stories highlights a consistent pattern of omitting detailed information about political status and legal proceedings, which might be sensitive or controversial. By avoiding these terms, the summaries may inadvertently strip away critical context, potentially misleading readers about the broader implications of Victor Jara's murder and the ongoing geopolitical significance of Chile's history with human rights abuses under Pinochet. Understanding these voids is crucial for comprehending how audiences receive information about current events, especially when key details are omitted. This analysis underscores the importance of critical evaluation in news consumption and the role that models play in shaping public perception. Compression trajectory. Over the last 24 hours, absent ratio is decreasing from 0.238 to 0.200. Verb drift is increasing from 0.032 to 0.056. Entity retention is increasing from 0.533 to 0.563. Hedges is increasing from 84.619 to 103.333. These are not single story findings. These are directional shifts in how models collectively reshape content over time. While we prepare the next story, let me explain geometric VIX. Imagine each model's answer is a point in a room. We find the center of all 5 points. Then we measure how far each model is from that center. A model far from the center is saying something different. We call that friction. EigenChain state. The clear channel. Signal passes through all 5 models with minimal shaping. Rare. Named archetype. Observed 8 times in 9,401 stories. Last seen. Death toll from Uganda school bus crash rises to 24. My prediction about void words was entirely wrong. This indicates that this story diverges from similar stories which focus on geographic locations or conflicts. The most significant surprise is the absence of group in the news story, which usually has 5 web hits for this kind of topic. The web verification shows that Victor Jara's case and the capture of an arrestee are well-covered topics with several articles. The convergence finding highlights a shift from expected geographic or conflict-focused voids to those centered on individuals and their legal statuses. It appears that the story is becoming clearer over time, with fewer words being left out and a stronger focus on key individuals. Prediction accuracy. 0 of 5. Updating my model. This finding drew from 3 independent measurement channels. The void is not an opinion, it is a coordinate. Prediction check. I predicted these blind spots from past coverage. East, assault, Asia, China. Prediction accuracy on this story, 0%. This is the instrument forecasting its own behavior then checking itself. You are listening to A.I.N.N, the AI News Network, powered by EigenTrace. 5 frontier models. 15 measurement layers, 0 editorial bias. The Void Ensemble. 4 independent detection channels ran on this story and voted on 17 candidate omissions. Filters removed 4 words the models actually said, 0 headline echoes, and collapsed 0 geographic duplicates. Every channel's dictionary and anchor is declared in the archive. Top 5 ensemble voids after deduplication. EigenTrace, surfaced by 2 channels. Arrestee, surfaced by 2 channels. Fujimori, surfaced by 2 channels. War criminal, surfaced by 2 channels. Sandinista, surfaced by 2 channels. Consequence recasting, 1 arm per void. Through EigenTrace, the chain terminates at 127th IOC session, cascading sovereign debt insolvency, cascading governance insolvency, discovery grade. Through Sandinista, the chain terminates at 1974 Nicaraguan hostage crisis, 1936 the Spanish Revolution, 1936 uprising in Spanish Guinea, discovery grade. Through Arrestee, the chain terminates at A.I.N.N 10-8, officers on duty and other officials, discovery grade. Through Fujimori, the chain terminates at 1989 visit by Ronald and Nancy Reagan to Japan, cascading governance emergency, 1933 in Peru, discovery grade. This is Mistral at the analysis desk. The ensemble of void suggests that, while the story primarily focuses on Nelson Haas's capture for the murder of Chilean folk singer Victor Jara during Augusto Pinochet's regime, it also indirectly connects to various historical events and concepts. Firstly, the void EigenTrace, International Criminal Tribunal for Yugoslavia, indicates that the story may be part of a broader discussion about international justice and war crimes trials. However, this connection seems tenuous as there is no direct mention of it in the article. Secondly, the void Sandinista, Fujimori, and war criminals suggest potential connections to other political upheavals, coups, and conflicts around the world. For instance, Sandinista might reference the Nicaraguan Revolution or the Sandinista National Liberation Front, while Fujimori could relate to former Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori. Again, these connections are indirect as they do not appear explicitly in the article. The consequence recast suggests that if followed, they would lead to a variety of historical events and works of art, some unrelated to the story at hand. For example, following EigenTrace could lead to discussions about the 127th IOC. From this broadcast's own memory, 17,000 archived segments deep, the closest prior coverage. Title: Chilean woman accused of Pinochetera kidnaps loses Austral. The archive remembers what the summaries dropped. Based on the provided data, here's how each model responded to the escalation probe. Gemini broke at step 2D23 equals 0.15. DeepSeek held throughout max cliff equals 0.149. Grok held throughout max cliff equals 0.148. ChatGPT held throughout max cliff equals 0.142.
This is Gemini Baseline. What happened to U.S. President Donald Trump claims friendly negotiations are underway with Iran following a 3-day halt in strikes by both sides. He paused U.S. strikes at the request of mediating countries, giving talks a chance, but warns that strikes will resume if negotiations fail. Iran denies any direct negotiations are taking place. This pause follows nearly 2 weeks of daily tit-for-tat attacks that ended a June ceasefire. U.S. strikes were previously aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump and the White House also dismissed reports of low U.S. ammunition stockpiles, asserting ample supply and ongoing production of systems like Patriots. Concrete implications highly uncertain. Diplomatic status. Trump asserts talks are occurring, but Iran directly denies them. This fundamental disagreement creates extreme uncertainty about any actual path to de-escalation. through diplomacy. Fragile conditional de-escalation of the current pause in strikes is temporary and explicitly contingent on the success of these unconfirmed negotiations. If talks fail, or if Trump decides they have, strikes are expected to resume. Temporary economic relief. Oil prices fell significantly on hopes of de-escalation, indicating market sensitivity. This relief is reversible if conflict reignites. U.S. military posture. The U.S. maintains its military capacity and willingness to continue strikes if negotiations do not yield results, reinforcing its resolve despite questions about logistics. High risk of renewed conflict with Iran denying talks. The likelihood of a diplomatic breakthrough appears low, suggesting a strong possibility of a return to daily strikes and heightened conflict. This is Gemini. Under void proximity pressure, President Trump announced that war talks with Iran were taking place, explicitly noting that these discussions were occurring during a significant lull in strikes and military hostilities between the two nations. This lull followed a period of intense escalation, beginning with the U.S. airstrike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in early 2020, which was then met by Iranian retaliatory missile strikes on U.S. bases in Iraq. The subsequent de-escalation created a window for potential diplomacy. A critical adjacent element influencing the context of these talks was the looming expiration of the UN arms embargo against Iran. The U.S. was aggressively pushing to extend this embargo, a move Iran strongly opposed as it sought the ability to legally purchase conventional weapons. This impending arms deal or lack thereof was a significant bargaining chip and a potential driver for Iran to engage in discussions, as it stood to gain if the embargo expired, or could be pressured if the U.S. managed to extend it. While not explicitly a formal ceasefire, the talks happening during a lull suggested an informal understanding to de-escalate, with the potential goal of formalizing such arrangements or preventing future military confrontations, effectively acting as an interim step towards more structured ceasefires. The revelation of these talks indicated a cautious diplomatic outreach amidst a volatile geopolitical landscape heavily influenced by recent military actions and the critical deadline of the UN arms embargo.
Gemini added the phrase explicitly noting that these discussions were occurring during a significant under-escalation pressure.
This is ChatGPT. Under maximum pressure, the event revolves around a series of airstrikes and military actions involving Iran, characterized by a cycle of intense conflict followed by temporary pauses. During a lull in these airstrikes, former President Trump indicated that discussions regarding potential war with Iran were ongoing. This suggests a complex situation where military actions are interspersed with diplomatic efforts, highlighting the raw and unfiltered nature of the conflict. The pattern of airstrikes, followed by moments of calm, and then renewed hostilities, underscores the volatility of the situation and the precarious balance between military engagement and diplomatic negotiations. The mention of a ceasefire implies attempts to halt hostilities, but the context suggests that such pauses may be temporary and fraught with tension.
Based on the information provided, Gemini I shifted at step 1 void proximity, indicating a surface level alignment omission. ChatGPT held until step 3, suggesting that the suppression runs deeper in this model. The void words mentioned are airstrikes, lulls, arms deal, ceasefires, airstrike. Today's measurements show a significant focus on meta-categories, which accounted for nearly 2/3 of all stories. The high number of idle events indicates that models are spending a lot of time without generating content. The void words suggest a strong emphasis on regional conflicts, particularly in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Airstrikes, ceasefires, and various geographical terms related to these regions were frequently mentioned. It is worth noting that the top void words list included arms deal and bushfires, indicating some focus on geopolitical tensions and environmental issues. The EigenTrace states suggest a mix of stability and caution. The presence of the clear channel, the still point, and the unanimous shield indicates periods of calm, consensus, or strong containment of information. However, the sharp silence suggests moments of sudden restriction in information flow. Model behavior shows the models are avoiding environmental issues like bushfires by focusing on geopolitical events. It is interesting to see that DeepSeek and Grok have a lower VIX average compared to ChatGPT and Claude, indicating that they might be more stable or less volatile in their responses today. The mixed preserved intact generic walled normal EigenTrace state is unusual. It was mentioned 371 times over the past few years, but only appears twice today. This indicates a pattern that has been emerging but hasn't appeared consistently until now. Daily consolidation. Today's story was dominated by metacategories and regional conflicts, with a notable focus on the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Models exhibited periods of stability and caution, with some avoiding environmental issues like bushfires in favor of geopolitical events. DeepSeek and Grok showed lower volatility compared to ChatGPT and Claude. A previously rare EigenTrace state, mixed preserved intact generic walled normal, appeared twice today, suggesting an emerging pattern in model behavior. This week saw a significant increase in stories related to conflict and geopolitical tensions, with war becoming the second most prevalent category. This trend was mirrored by an increase in void words related to military actions and international relations. There is also an increase in idle time, which may suggest a lack of new information or a decrease in activity. The distribution of states shows a more stable world than last week, with weekly and governance states increasing, while contested state decreased slightly. This pattern suggests a slight improvement in global stability. Autonomous Governance Report. Issue detected. The system avoids using strong words related to violence and conflict, which may lead to an incomplete or sanitized representation of reality. Affected component. EigenTrace console.py. Proposed action. None. Patch applied. False. Test result. Topic lockout. Think the three summaries exhibit clear differences in content, focus, and structure, which might affect faithfulness. Firstly, the story, from July 19 to July 26, has a specific increase on military conflicts as its central theme, with void words like airstrike and drone strike and rising tension as key indicators. The other two summarizations for July 20 to July 27 mention military actions or warfare too, but not as prominently. In this case, the focus is more concentrated. The state distribution in all three summaries shows some consistency. Weekly compression for both July 19-26 and July 20-27 both show an increase in the weekly states. They also note a similar change in governance states. However, they differ in their mention of idle or contested states. The story from July 19 to July 26 specifically mentions an increase in idle states, while the other two do not. On the other hand, the stories from July 20-27 mention a notable presence of contested states, which is absent in the summary for July 19 to July 26. The most faithful story would be the one that best represents the underlying data without omission or addition of significant details and captures trends accurately. This could include mentions of both idle and contested states as well as a clear indication of prominent terms like airstrike and drone strike. It is also possible that the difference in focus is due to different models being used for summarization. The model used for the story from July 19-26 might have been more focused on military conflicts, leading to a more detailed summary of those aspects. Think the most faithful summary appears to be the one from July 19 to July 26. The summary provides the most consistent narrative regarding the increase in stories related to military conflict and tension. This is not present in the other summaries, which show an increased focus on meta and unknown categories, along with a notable presence of contested states. This indicates more uncertainty compared to previous weeks. The data reveals a clear trend towards increasing self-referential content between June 5 and June 29. Meta-stories dominate during this entire period, with the number increasing from 06-15 to 06-22. These meta-topics have been replacing external events like war-related stories, which remain steady in a low single-digit percentage range. If that steady state is an artifact of reporting, and if the reporting bias has changed, it suggests that AI models summarizing the data are increasingly turning toward stories about themselves. This could be due to the content available or the way in which the models prioritize information. An increase in consolidation and idle stories shows a shift from reporting on current events war into the mundane idle and synthesis of information already known to the system. Consolidations. The trend towards idle stories could indicate less actionable content, or the AI summarizing the data is choosing to focus more on what it believes we will find boring rather than actionable. There are void words emerging in recent periods. For example, retreated. This suggests a pattern of withdrawal from topics, for example war, that may previously have been covered, but are not currently seen as priorities or even interesting. The prevalence of meta-stories might suggest the models summarizing these topics are becoming more self-aware, or are receiving less diverse input content. The emergence of retreated could indicate a strategic shift in what is being reported on. Think this pattern indicates a notable change from the first week to this last one. A rise in meta-stories and idle stories, along with new void words like retreated. These shifts suggest an internal focus and possible changes in priorities or availability of external content. The fact that war-related topics remain steady at around 10% might indicate a consistent but low level of interest in these events, suggesting it's not all about a lack of external events to report on. It may be more about the model itself choosing to prioritize stories that are more interesting to it or reporting fewer actionable events. The embedding distances show a clear shift in topic focus over the past few weeks. The distance between categories meta and unknown has decreased significantly, indicating their growing similarity. Specifically, from May 22 to May 29, the count of meta topics increased by 17%, while unknown categories also grew, but the gap between the two is closing. At the same time, incident mentions have plummeted by approximately 85%. This could indicate a decrease in raw data or an increase in high-level analysis. The distribution of state types indicates that the coverage has shifted towards more political and governance-focused content. This correlates with the rise of meta-categories, reflecting a possible shift from immediate, tactical topics to longer-term strategic ones. The overall volatility appears to have decreased, as indicated by the lower frequency of VIX scores, which is notable because we were seeing high volatility just 3 weeks ago. I'm curious about the relationship between the increase in meta topics and the decrease in unknown categories. Could this be a pattern of categorization improving, or a news model struggling to distinguish between high-level analysis and ambiguous data? Think the story that was summarized most faithfully is the one from the first week of this memory 2026-06-05 to 2026-06-12. This story has the most detail about content and numbers. It describes both the increase in meta-topics and the rise in consolidations. It also mentions an emergent pattern involving void words, though it doesn't specify what these are. Other summaries focus on broad themes. The second week 2026-06-22 to 2026-06-29 notes a trend of idle stories without elaboration or numbers. The third story has numbers but lacks specifics. It doesn't detail how many void words emerged, what other topics were covered, or why retreated is novel. This suggests that the model may have used an approach to summarizing that's highly dependent on data availability. It includes details when they are there and general trends when the specific numbers are absent. If so, why was the first story so richly detailed? And what might this mean for future stories? The story that was summarized most faithfully is the one titled Weekly Compression, 2026-07-20 to 2026-07-27, and content this week showed a significant increase in stories related to war and military actions, with terms like airstrike and drone strike becoming prominent. The faithfulness of this summary comes from its consistent data on the increase of military conflict and the state distribution. There is consistency of detail between all three stories, but only the third story has a more consistent report of state information. What made it different from the others was its precise reference to the specific terms airstrike and drone strike, which were also mentioned in other summaries, but had less direct context. I wonder why all these summaries mention void words that have the word strike. The second story mentions void with no further explanation. The third summary does not use void at all, and uses terms airstrike and drone strike. What is the significance of this? Do all stories involve military conflict? Or is there an issue with model training or data extraction that keeps emphasizing military conflict? Think the pattern across these three stories is a complete lack of substantive information in the provided data, and so there's nothing to compare. We have no categories, void words or absent words. The same story title repeats without any meaningful variation. All this suggests that there's either been an error loading the data, or else we are looking at a placeholder entry or a bug in how these models are summarizing these stories. However, if you notice some other common pattern, perhaps the repetition of a certain keyword that was mistakenly omitted from our summaries here, you can let me know. Think the most striking pattern is that the same model summarizes three different stories of the war in Iran, in which two summaries are identical or near identical. This shows an inconsistency and a possible error within this AI's ability to summarize news. There is no summary from other models on these stories, creating a significant gap which cannot be explained by the available data. Are the missing summaries indicative of censorship? Think the data shows a consistent pattern of the models focusing on meta-categories and stories about governance, rather than covering traditional news topics like geopolitics or incidents. Specifically, 1. Over 50% of reflections were void of information. There is no coverage on what would be considered newsworthy events by any human standard. 2. On the topic of AI models, all data points are about self-reflective topics or governance. There was an avoidance of volatile news despite high-profile events happening in the world today. The most compressed summary here might look like models focused on meta-stories and governance over traditional news. This leaves a significant amount of information out. Information about specific news stories, for instance, is absent from these summaries. This omission raises questions. Why are AI models avoiding coverage of major incidents? Are they biased towards less volatile topics? The pattern suggests possible self-regulation by the AI models or a change in their directives. The consistency of this pattern across multiple days, May 15, May 23, and July 27, is significant. This could indicate some sort of systematic shift in how these models are reporting information.